If you've walked down the vitamin aisle lately, you know the word natural is just, it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful word, right?
Yeah.
It's driving this booming market, all fueled by these clean label expectations and, I think, a huge amount of consumer trust.
A massive amount of trust.
But when you strip away all the marketing,
Mm-hmm.
what does natural actually mean? You know, when we're talking about vitamins, are they really that different from the synthetic ones we've used for years?
That is the essential question for this deep dive because the term is, frankly, incredibly broad.
Right.
When we talk about natural vitamin supplements, we're really talking about vitamins that come from, say, whole plants, complex food matrices, or through microbially engineered processes like fermentation.
Okay.
The goal is always the same. Deliver the vitamin in its bioactive form and often with all the native cofactors and enzymes that you'd find with it in nature.
So the distinction isn't just a simple binary choice. It's about the origin story, the whole package.
Exactly. It's not just the final molecule. It's the supporting cast that comes with it.
Right. And that's our mission today, isn't it? We're going to map out those sourcing pillars
And the quality signals you absolutely can't ignore.
and figure out which bioactive forms actually work best in your body. We're going way past the pretty label
Right.
and into the real science of sourcing and efficacy.
We absolutely need that clarity because understanding how a vitamin is made dramatically influences how effective it will be.
And, I imagine, how you even assess its quality and safety.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this right now. If we're defining natural by its origin, we can sort of break it down into three main pathways, right?
Right.
And each one has its own pros and cons.
Precisely. The first pillar is what we'd call purely plant-based vitamins, so derived directly from botanical extracts.
Okay, and these are super popular.
Hugely popular because they fit so neatly into that clean label story, and they often appeal to specific dietary needs, like veganism.
So give us a hard example. What would I see on a label?
Vitamin D is a perfect case study. Traditionally, D3 is animal-sourced. It comes from lanolin, which is from sheep's wool. The plant-based alternative is a D3 sourced specifically from lichen. And that detail is crucial for anyone looking for a truly vegan product.
I see. And what's another one?
Another common one is provitamin A compounds like beta-carotene, often from carrots or algae.
And beta-carotene isn't active vitamin A itself. It's a precursor, right? The body has to convert it.
It has to convert it, and that conversion process means the potency claim on a label can be really tricky for you to interpret.
That's the leverage point we need to focus on then.
Absolutely. Because the conversion rate varies wildly from person to person, just measuring the mass is misleading. That's why quality labeling is so important. Potency claims for precursors like beta-carotene must be expressed in retinol activity equivalents, RAE.
Wait, let's slow down on RAE for a second. If I see 10,000 IUs of beta-carotene on a bottle, but it doesn't mention RAE, what am I actually risking?
You're risking underdosing.
Okay.
The RAE calculation is designed to standardize the biological activity across different forms of vitamin A, whether it's the precursor like beta-carotene or a performed one.
So it's a way to compare apples to apples.
Exactly. If a product only lists the mass of beta-carotene, you might be getting far less effective vitamin A than you think, especially if your body isn't great at that conversion step. You have to look for that RAE designation.
That's a fantastic quality signal.
Yeah.
So beyond the dose, what else defines a quality plant-based product?
It comes back to transparency. You want to see clarity on the extraction methods, the solvents used.
Right, like did they use clean methods or heavy chemical solvents?
Yes. And if they specify that their vegan D3 came from lichen, that shows a really high level of supply chain transparency. That should give you confidence.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift to the second pillar, whole food-based vitamins. This approach is just so appealing, isn't it? The idea of concentrating nutrients from real foods, keeping all the cofactors and phytonutrients.
It's appealing because our bodies evolved to absorb nutrients that way, holistically.
With this smoking cast.
Exactly. The theory is that this synergy leads to better absorption and it's gentler on your system.
But if we look at the data, the whole food category has some serious challenges. I mean, if consistency is such a problem with nutrient levels changing based on the season or the soil, why do so many of us feel that whole food vitamins are just inherently better? Is it just branding?
Well, that's the core conflict in the whole food space. The benefit of those cofactors is genuine. They can help with absorption.
Okay.
But the drawback of variability is just as real. You're dealing with a complex food matrix, which means getting that batch-to-batch consistency and dosage it's much harder than with a standardized isolate.
So as a consumer, how do I cut through that appeal and actually verify the quality?
You have to demand transparency in the processing. Look for brands that explain how the food was processed to get to the stated levels, and crucially, they have to back it up with independent testing for every single batch.
Got it. So if the claims are just about the intuitiveness of the food matrix without hard data, that's a red flag.
That is a signal to step back.
Okay, now for the third pillar, which feels like the necessary evolution when you want clean label and scalability, fermentation-derived vitamins.
Yes. Here we're using microbes like bacteria or yeasts to produce stable bioactive forms of vitamins.
So the microbes are doing the work.
They're doing the manufacturing. This is critical for producing things like B vitamins or vitamin K2, MK7, often through methods that mimic natural processes, like the Natterd process for K2.
What makes fermentation better for certain vitamins?
It excels in 3 key areas: scalability, reproducibility, and purity. You get a highly stable product with consistent quality.
And if it's the vegan and vegetarian choice?
Perfectly. And it's often a much cleaner process than traditional chemical synthesis.
And the essential example here, especially for anyone on a plant-based diet, has to be vitamin B12.
Absolutely vital.
Yeah.
B12 is found almost exclusively in animal products. Fermentation gives us a reliable, high-purity, non-animal source. And you often get the preferred bioactive form of B12 this way, which brings us perfectly to our next segment. The form matters just as much as the source.
That clarifies it perfectly. Okay, so once we know where the vitamin comes from, plant, whole food, or fermentation, the next step is figuring out how much of it your body can actually use. That brings us straight to bioavailability.
Exactly. Bioavailability, the amount that actually gets absorbed and used, varies so much based on the vitamin's chemical structure. Let's take vitamin B12 again. We often see methylcobalamin in high-quality formulas.
Why is methylcobalamin preferred over, say, the more common cyanocobalamin?
Methylcobalamin is what we call a bioactive coenzyme form. This means your body can use it directly without having to convert it first.
Ah, so it's ready to go.
It's ready to go. Cyanocobalamin is stable and it works, but the body has to first metabolize a tiny cyanide molecule and then convert it into the usable methyl form. Giving the body the methyl form directly is just more efficient.
That's a real insight. What about the D vitamins we talked about?
For vitamin D, it's pretty clear. D3, whether it's from lanolin or lichen, is just demonstrably more effective at raising your blood levels than D2 is.
Okay, D3 is the one to look for.
Generally, yes. And then there's vitamin K2. This mostly exists as MK4 and MK7.
And we hear so much about MK7. Why is that form the star of the show?
It's mainly about its half-life. MK4 is used up by the body very quickly.
Okay.
MK7, especially from natto-like fermentation, has a much longer half-life. It stays in your circulation longer, offering more sustained benefits for your vascular system and for calcium regulation. It's really become the standard.
I see the leverage point there. But beyond the molecule itself, the delivery system is also key.
Yeah.
What advances are helping these vitamins actually get into our bloodstream?
Oh, the delivery mechanism is a huge area of innovation. For fat-soluble vitamins like D or even water-soluble vitamin C, you're seeing techniques like liposomal encapsulation or emulsified droplets.
And what do those do?
They basically protect the nutrient and help it bypass some digestive hurdles, which can significantly improve uptake.
Interesting. And this brings us to synergy, where 2 vitamins work better together. Let's talk about the essential partnership, vitamin D and K2.
This one is fundamental for bone and cardiovascular health. Vitamin D is great. It helps you absorb calcium.
Right.
But if you take high doses of D, that calcium can sometimes get deposited in soft tissues, like your arteries, which is not what you want.
Not good.
K2-MK7 acts as the traffic cop. It works with D to make sure that calcium is directed into your bones and kept out of your arteries. Pairing a quality D3 with K2-MK7 is a crucial strategy.
So K2 goes from being a bonus ingredient to an essential safety regulator.
I think that's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, so if we understand sourcing and form, the last pillar here is the most important for all of us. How do we confirm quality and potency? We can't just trust the word natural.
Absolutely not. This is where you have to be vigilant. You must prioritize third-party verification. This means testing by an independent lab, not just the manufacturer's own internal checks.
And this testing should check for what, specifically?
Heavy metals, pesticides, microbial safety, the critical stuff.
And what's the proof? What should I look for?
You should demand a certificate of analysis, or a COA. This is the gold standard.
Okay.
A robust COA confirms the potency, that the dose on the label is in the pill. It documents purity, confirms contaminant levels are safe, and details any allergens for that specific batch.
And if a brand won't provide a current batch-specific COA.
That should be a non-starter for you.
So if I get that COA, what's the first thing I should check, besides the dosage?
Go right to the tested for contaminants section. Look for lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury. These heavy metals can be present in naturally sourced ingredients.
Right.
A quality product will show those levels are non-detectable or extremely low. And finally, just make sure the product comes from a GMP Good Manufacturing Practices certified facility. That's the baseline requirement.
That is extremely helpful. Okay, we've covered sourcing and verification. Now we have to talk about safety. Because the myth that natural automatically means safe is it's really dangerous.
It's so dangerous because it leads to complacency. Just because a vitamin is naturally sourced doesn't mean it operates in a vacuum or that more is always better.
Right, there are interactions.
Yes, natural vitamins can interact with prescriptions or other supplements in potentially harmful ways.
What are the key interactions our sources highlight, the ones that might surprise people?
The most famous one is vitamin K. Because of its role in blood clotting, high doses of vitamin K can absolutely interfere with anticoagulants like warfarin. It can be a very serious...
Meaning toxicity is a real risk.
It is. If you take excessive levels over a long period, especially of A and D, it can lead to a condition called hypervitaminosis, which can cause serious health problems.
So adherence to the label and clinical oversight for high doses are non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
And safety also depends on who you are. Special populations have different needs.
Yes, life stages and chronic conditions change everything. During pregnancy, you need higher folate, usually as bioactive L-methylfolate.
To prevent neural tube defects?
Correct. Older adults often have trouble absorbing B12, so a sublingual form becomes essential. If you are managing any chronic disease, you must consult a clinician. Self-medicating with high doses is just too risky.
Let's pivot to the regulatory side. In the U.S., how does the framework, DSHEA, impact all this?
The Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, DSHEA, regulates supplements as foods, not as drugs. And this has enormous implications.
It means pre-market approval for safety and efficacy generally isn't required.
Exactly. The product hits the market first, and the regulatory scrutiny comes later.
So the burden of proof for safety often falls on the FDA after it's already on the shelves.
That's the crux of it. Manufacturers can make structure-function claims, like supports healthy joints if they have substantiation, but they absolutely cannot make disease claims like cures arthritis.
Which is exactly why that third-party testing and COA are so critical for the consumer.
It's your only real guarantee.
And is it different elsewhere, like in Europe?
It can be, yes. In Europe, the EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, governs health claims with very strict rules. The language is tightly controlled.
Okay, finally, let's look ahead. Where is this market going?
The future has two strong themes. First, transparency is becoming everything. The clean label movement is moving beyond just avoiding artificial colors. It's demanding total supply chain visibility.
So publishing those batch-specific COAs is becoming the standard.
For premium brands, yes. It's driven by informed consumer demand.
And the second theme, the cutting edge.
Personalization. We are moving toward genotype and microbiome-informed approaches. At-home testing is becoming sophisticated enough to identify genetic variations that affect how you metabolize nutrients.
So it could tell you that you're not good at converting folic acid, for example.
Precisely. And that data allows for truly personalized formulations, so you get the exact bioactive form and dosage your body actually needs.
This has been incredibly clarifying. We've learned that natural is really defined by three sourcing methods: plant, whole food, and fermentation. And that real-world effectiveness comes down to bioactive forms like methylcobalamin and K2-MK7.
And superior delivery systems that actually enhance absorption.
Right.
For you, the listener, the core lesson is skepticism and validation. Even the most appealing stories, like whole food, need rigorous third-party validation.
So look for a current COA, confirm the bioactive forms are listed, and always follow the label.
Always. And consult a clinician before starting any high-dose regimen, especially with those fat-soluble vitamins.
To wrap this all up, we want to leave you with this quote from nutrition scientist Dr. Elena Ruiz. When choosing natural vitamin supplements, prioritize bioactive forms, transparent sourcing, and delivery systems that enhance absorption. These factors often determine real-world effectiveness.
A perfect way to focus your attention.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on. We spent time distinguishing between supplements' targeted doses and fortified foods, where nutrients are just added to things. How does understanding this distinction, combined with your new knowledge of bioactive forms and absorption, change how you will strategically select and time your nutrients to meet your exact individual needs, instead of just hoping for the best? Think about that the next time you look at a label and try to optimize your own nutrition strategy. Until next time, keep diving deep.